The Bridge of Doubts. The Bridge of Doubts was a legend whispered across Albion. No map marked its location, and no traveler who had crossed it ever spoke of what they saw. Built of blackened stone, and suspended over a chasm so deep it seemed endless, it was said the bridge tested not the body, but the soul. Those who stepped upon it were confronted with their greatest doubts, their fears made flesh. Eadric of Blackmere had no choice but to face it. He stood at the bridge's edge, the wind howling through the jagged peaks around him. Beyond the bridge lay the shadowed keep, where the Veil Wyrm, a dragon of despair, nested. To end its curse over the nearby villages, Eadric would first have to cross the bridge. He tightened his grip on vigilance, his trusted sword, and took a deep breath. Each step forward echoed unnaturally, the sound swallowed by the chasm. The air seemed to grow heavier, and the world dimmed, as if the sun itself recoiled from the bridge's presence. "Step carefully," a voice whispered from nowhere, soft as silk. "This is no place for certainty." As Eadric reached the middle of the bridge, the first shadow appeared, a figure cloaked in black, its face obscured. When it spoke, its voice was his own. "Why do you fight, Eadric?" it asked, stepping closer. "Do you truly believe you can make a difference? The dragons are endless. Their shadows will always return." Eadric's jaw tightened. "If I can save even one life, it is worth the fight." The figure laughed, a cold, empty sound. "And what of the lives you've failed to save? Vaylin, Isella, Kyle? Their blood stains your hands, and no amount of noble words will wash it away." Eadric's grip on his sword faltered. Memories flooded his mind, the screams of his comrades, the faces of those he couldn't protect. The figure stepped closer, its shadow growing taller. "Turn back," it urged. "The weight of their loss will break you." For a moment Eadric hesitated, his heart heavy with doubt. But then he remembered the words of his mentor, Brother Cadwyn. A true slayer does not deny his failures. He carries them and moves forward. "I will carry their memory," Eadric said, his voice steady. "But I will not turn back." With those words, the shadow dissolved, leaving him alone once more. As Eadric continued, the bridge beneath him shifted, the stones creaking ominously. Another figure emerged, this one taking the form of a young boy. Eadric recognized him instantly. It was himself as a child before he had taken up the blade. The boy's wide, innocent eyes were filled with fear. "Why did you choose this path?" the boy asked, his voice trembling. "You could have stayed in the village, lived a simple life. Why did you have to become a slayer?" Eadric knelt, his sword resting at his side. "Because someone had to." "But you're not strong enough," the boy said, his voice rising. "You never were. You always doubted yourself. What makes you think you're any different now?" The boy's words struck deep, unearthing memories of Eadric's first days as a slayer, the nights spent doubting his worth, the countless times he considered abandoning his quest. But then he looked at the boy again, and he saw not weakness, but potential. "You're right," Eadric said softly. "I doubted myself then, and I still do. But doubt doesn't make me weak. It pushes me to keep going." The boy hesitated, his form flickering. Then, with a faint smile, he faded into the mist. The end of the bridge was in sight, but the air grew colder, the darkness deeper. A final figure appeared, tall, armored, and wielding a blade identical to Vigilance. Its face was hidden behind a helm, but Eadric knew who it was. The figure raised its sword, pointing it at Eadric. "You claim to fight for others," it said, its voice metallic and harsh. "But isn't it true that you fight for yourself? To escape your own fears, to prove your worth? You are no hero, Eadric. You are just a man desperate to feel like one." Eadric tightened his grip on Vigilance, his heart pounding. The figure's words cut deep because they held a shard of truth. He had fought not only to save others, but to find meaning in his own life, to justify the sacrifices he had made. "I am no hero," Eadric said, his voice firm. "I am just a man, but a man can still make a difference." The figure lunged, its blade clashing with Eadric's in a shower of sparks. The two fought fiercely, each strike echoing across the chasm. But as the fight wore on, Eadric realized the figure was not trying to kill him. It was testing him. "You are strong," the figure said, its voice softer now. "But strength alone will not see you through. You must accept yourself, all your doubts, your fears, your flaws." Eadric lowered his sword, his breathing heavy. "I accept them," he said, "and I will move forward, with or without them." The figure stepped back, its helm dissolving into mist. Beneath it was Eadric's own face, but older, wiser. The figure smiled faintly before vanishing, leaving Eadric alone. Eadric stepped off the bridge, his body weary but his spirit unbroken. Before him loomed the shadowed keep, its towers piercing the clouds like jagged teeth. The Veil Wyrm waited within, its curse still strong. But Eadric felt no fear. He had crossed the bridge of doubts, and though his doubts remained, they no longer held power over him. He tightened his grip on vigilance and stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The bridge of doubt stood silent once more, its blackened stones slick with frost. In the chasm below, faint whispers echoed, the voices of those who had crossed and those who had fallen. And somewhere in the distance the dragons of Albion stirred, waiting for the next slayer to rise.